Hi everybody, it's just Chris Booth from IT Health. We're just waiting for a few more people to join, and we'll get cracking in a second. So bear with us for a few more minutes. Thank you. Hi again, it's Chris Booth here. We're just seeing a few more people joining the webinar, so we'll just give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started properly. Thanks for your patience. Hi everybody. Okay, I think we'll make a start. I can still see that people are still joining us, but just do a few introductions first, and we can then get into the meat of the presentation. So, as I said before, I'm Chris Booth from IT Health. IT Health, just a quick introduction. We are exclusively dedicated to cybersecurity and IT security within the NHS, the health sector. We've been doing that for approximately 30 years now. And joined today by Tom Walsh and Amy Allen from Sophos. We're going to present to us MDM solutions around Sophos Mobile. If you've got any questions, please put them into the chat box and we'll deal with those at the end of the session. I'll now hand over to Amy, who's going to do a quick introduction on Sophos for us. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today. As Chris mentioned, today's webinar is how Sophos can help protect and enable secure device management for the NHS. This afternoon, Tom Walsh from our product team is going to give you an overview of how we can protect your mobile workforce and how your staff can work securely from anywhere using any device with our next-gen technologies, how we can protect their devices and corporate data from threats that have never been seen before by using our deep machine learning capabilities, and how all of this can be configured remotely. As Chris said, we'll have a Q&A session at the end, and I'll now hand over to Tom.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Amy. Thanks, Chris. And hi, everybody. It's Tom here from the product team. As Amy and Chris mentioned, we're going to take a look at our mobile offering today, Sophos Mobile. I'm I'm conscious that I don't want to flood everyone in in PowerPoint, so the session is going to be a mixture of slides and also a demo looking at the admin console itself. Okay, so just to set the scene a little bit, a bit of context, Sophos Mobiles are unified endpoint management offering. And what we mean by that is that it absolutely enables customers to manage their iOS and Android devices, but it also extends into management for Windows 10, macOS, and also Chromebook devices. And our aim here at Sophos is to make this as intuitive as possible and remove some of the complexity that sometimes can be associated with device management and MDM. As Sophos is ultimately a security company, we place a lot of emphasis on the protection angle or the protection side of device management. So our offering contains a mobile threat defense component which guards against malware and other threats. And we think this security focus is an important point. Most MDM solutions, or certainly a lot of them, focus on the configuration and device management, and we certainly provide this, but we take it a step further by also providing security functionality all in one integrated solution. Okay, let's dig into the details a little bit more. As I mentioned a moment ago, organizations can manage a range of device platforms. And for each of these platforms, we support the different management modes, such as Android Enterprise, in both full device management and the work profile. And on iOS, we support supervised mode and also integrate with Apple DEP and VPP, the volume purchasing program. The configuration policies we provide let the administrator enroll and configure devices, and we've got an extensive range of settings. They can force a complex lock password, or whether biometrics are allowed to be used on the device, to fingerprint to unlock the device. The administrator can push out email and Wi-Fi settings to help get users up and running nice and quickly, or they could also block other functionality like the camera or AirDrop if they wanted to. And we also support some more specific use cases, as we're going to look at in a moment or two. It's kind of kiosk mode or single app mode, where a device can be blocked for most of its functionality except for a specific use case. And Sophos Mobile also gives visibility, or provides visibility for the administrator. So in the console, the admin can show the status of devices. So that's things like the last time the device reported in or checked back in, the last time it came online, but also information such as the operating system version and whether the device is encrypted. At the app level, Sophos Mobile provides control over what apps or which apps are installed on devices. So apps can be made available to the users for them to choose to install, so made available in Enterprise App Store, or they can be deployed silently without user interaction. And configuration settings or manage settings allow the admin to pre-configure app functionality with the aim of kind of making things easier for the end user, so they can get up and running nice and quickly. Additionally, the organization or the admin can block or allow specific apps to fit with their specific policies. So containers let you separate work and personal data on a device, and Sophos supports the native containers such as the Android Enterprise work profile. In this setup, a device has a personal profile and a work profile, and the company is able to control the apps and data that are in that work profile. We also have our own container solution, Sophos Container, which is a secure location where the user can access their emails and documents. That's available on both iOS and Android. And this containerization is particularly popular in the bring your own device scenario, where company data remains secure in a container and is separated from any personal data on the rest of the device. Mobile threats are a growing issue, so it is important to ensure that devices are protected. Our threat protection features include detecting malicious apps. Also at the network layer, we offer web filtering and the ability to detect seemingly suspicious Wi-Fi networks. If someone connects to a new access point and we believe that their traffic could be being intercepted, we can flag this for the end user and the administrator. Compliance rules as well allow organizations to define their level of security tolerance. So what level of threat exposure is acceptable to them, what they see is permissible and not. We'll look at these security functionality in a little bit more detail in a moment or two, actually. So there's a couple of management options I wanted to go into in a bit more detail, as I thought they may be interesting for the kind of healthcare environment. First of these is the bring your own device, or BYOD management mode, and Sophos Mobile absolutely supports BYOD for Android and iOS. On iOS, there's the work profile, which, as I mentioned a moment or two, is essentially a secure container where the administrator can choose exactly which apps are available and exclude or prevent any other apps being available to the user, and also what data is available to the user in through those apps. And the good thing about a good thing about the work profile is it can be added to existing devices. So we have some customers who allow their end users to bring personal tablets and use them in the work environment. And what those customers do is they manage these through the work profile. So a work profile container is created on those devices where the any work data is safe and secure, and the administrator still has strong control over what happens within that container. If the device is lost or the user leaves the company or for any other reason, the administrator can remotely wipe the work profile and all the data and apps within it and still leave the personal side of the device untouched. On iOS, the administrator can push out managed apps to devices. So with managed apps, the administrator has control over the settings of the deployed apps. You can also choose to prevent certain actions, such as only allowing data to be copied between managed apps. And any apps that the user installs themselves from the Apple App Store are considered unmanaged apps. When a device, or if a device is enrolled from Sophos Mobile, any managed apps and the data within them is removed. So with all these options, the intention is to allow existing devices and often personal devices to be used while still retaining a clear separation between company work data and any personal apps and data outside. Second management mode I just wanted to touch on is kiosk mode or single app mode. And this allows a device to be configured to run just a specific app or sometimes just a small number of apps on the device, whilst hiding the other functionality of the device. So maybe hiding the home screen and other elements that you'd normally have on a mobile device or a tablet. Once the device is put into kiosk mode or single app mode, there are no other applications accessible. The user can't switch to the other functionality. And the admin still has good control over how they configure the device, provide a number of options to make it easier for them to configure settings that are particularly relevant for those kiosk devices, such as disabling auto lock or whether the screen rotates, or even choosing whether there's a lock screen displayed at all. We've spoken a bit there about device management and configuration. I wanted to spend a few minutes now talking about mobile threats and the risks facing mobile users. It's fair to acknowledge that the Android and iOS architecture is a little bit different from desktop platforms, and in some ways it's probably more secure. But mobile devices are still a target for attacks. A study last year of IT administrators found that nearly 1 in 10 threats was discovered on a mobile device, meaning it's important to ensure that devices are indeed protected. When talking about mobile threats, and when our Sophos Labs team see threats, they really break these down into 3 categories. At the device level, there are threats associated with having an outdated operating system or a vulnerable app configuration. There's also the risk of devices being jailbroken or rooted, which allows circumventing some of the normal security mechanisms on the device. At the network level, it's another important category of threats. One example would be a device connecting to a rogue Wi-Fi access point. I think the example that's often used is Starbucks. Poor Starbucks, so I often get picked on for this example, but someone who's taken their device out of the office environment or hospital environment and is connects to what they believe is a free access point at a coffee shop, and it turns out to be a malicious actor who's actually intercepting their traffic and reading their communication. What our offering will do, Sophos Mobile will do, is highlight what seems to be a suspicious Wi-Fi connection and flag that to the user and also flag that to the administrator. Another example is our phishing emails, which directs users to a malicious website and tries to steal their credentials. The third bucket of threats, as we see them, are app level threats. On Android, Google's done a lot of work in attempting to prevent malicious apps reaching the Play Store, but we still continue to find malicious apps available on the store, which still make it onto end user devices. And there's also the topic of what's sometimes called fleeceware. So these are apps that may not be considered strictly malicious, but they certainly exhibit undesirable behavior. For example, they charge users excessive amounts of money for what would normally be free functionality, like a QR code scanner. And our research team, our Sophos Labs, have been very prominent on the topic of fleeceware in both the Android and iOS app stores, and we've got a number of articles looking at this in more depth for anyone who's interested in that. So that's a little bit about the kind of the threat scene as we see it on mobiles. Our response to this, or our protection offering, is Intercept X for mobile, and it's these 3 threat categories that I just mentioned that really drive how this product and the protection will offer. So we protect at a device, network, and app level, and this includes anti-malware scanning, looking for malicious apps, web filtering, phishing protection, blocking access to malicious or suspicious domains and addresses, detection of man-in-the-middle network attacks, so detecting connection to those seemingly suspicious Wi-Fi points, as well as things like flagging outdated operating systems or devices with potentially risky settings. But one component I'll just touch on, as we're particularly proud of, is our deep learning technology. Deep learning is a form, or an advanced form, of machine learning. And for those of you who may have seen our endpoint or server products, this is the same deep learning technology that powers the protection in those products. And the idea is that it's able to analyze file attributes and spot what appears to be a malicious app before we've seen it before. So it can look at the characteristics and use that to determine that an app's going to be doing something undesirable, even if we've not seen it in our labs previously. And the strength of this protection has been validated in various third-party tests. We regularly participate in the AV tests, as well as the Mycom's Mobile Threat Defense Assessment, which I'm pleased to say we repeatedly do well in those tests. Last thing I'll just mention is that Intercept X for mobile is part of our Sophos Mobile offering, and most customers use device management and security through Sophos. However, it's also worth noting that for customers who already have an existing MDM product, they can still benefit from Intercept X for mobile, so our security component. We integrate with things like Intune, Workspace ONE, Mobile Iron, and a variety of others. So if a customer or an organization already has an MDM product but knows they still want to provide security to devices, we've still got an offering available there. And I'll look in a little bit more detail towards the end at the kind of the licensing options and how it all breaks out. Sophos Mobile is part of our broader Sophos Central platform. And this means that device management is performed right alongside our other security products. So alongside our endpoint and server protection, our firewall management, email, encryption, and all our other offerings. And the benefit for the administrator is that if they want to consolidate their security and administration, they can do that in Sophos Central and spend less time hopping between different consoles in order to manage different security products. It also means there's better visibility over what's happening across their estate. As we'll see in a moment, we've got a kind of a single dashboard where you can see events across different products. And in addition to the improved visibility, our products actually work together to automatically provide better protection. Some of you may have heard us talk about what we call synchronized security. And this is the idea that Sophos products share information to provide faster incident response. One example of this is a desktop device or laptop device which detects a threat. It can automatically be prevented from accessing certain network locations by our firewall. Or a mobile device that's got a low or poor health status can be prevented from accessing the company Wi-Fi until it comes back up to a clean status. Sophos Central is hosted in the cloud, so there's no servers for the customer to deploy or maintain, or no upgrades for them to do. And on that note, I'd actually now like to spend a few moments diving into the Sophos Central console and walking you through some of the functionality of Sophos Mobile. Please bear with me, I'll just log in. And as I mentioned a moment ago, Sophos Central is our cloud-hosted platform for managing each of our products. So you can see down the side, this particular account, I have our endpoint protection and server products, mobile encryption, and various others. There's a few others here that aren't listed, such as our email offering and our cloud optics for managing AWS and Azure environments. And what we have here is one main dashboard where we can see alerts taking place across our estate. So here we can see some events from I think this is a Windows 10 device, as well as a Chromebook, and any mobile device events would also appear in this alerts list. And again, we have information about users and devices in our environment, and we can drill down to see more information about these. But today, obviously, we're looking more specifically at Sophos Mobile. So I'll navigate to that section and dig into a little bit more of the mobile specific functionality. So this is the mobile dashboard, which gives a summary of mobile devices across our estate. And on this page, we have a bunch of widgets showing information such as whether devices comply with the policies, my company policies, other information like the operating system version on my devices. Got some old ones here. And to kind of help customers get up and running with Sophos Mobile as quickly as possible, we provide some firstly getting started videos which walk customers through the process of configuring the key steps or the core functionality. But also we have these wizards which guide customers through setting up their initial configuration. For example, here the policy startup wizard, the customer can choose which devices or platforms they plan to be using. If they're only going to be using Android or iOS, or if they want to extend that, they can click those here. We also help set up an initial base policy to get them up and running nice and quickly. You can choose the strength of the password that's applied, that's forced or required for devices. We can also choose whether certain actions are allowed or required for devices, and we can push out Wi-Fi settings. Just important to note, there's significantly more configuration options available in our policies in this, but this is just a quick glimpse of some of the kind of base settings we provide to try and get customers up and running as quickly as possible and strip out some of that complexity that can sometimes be associated with mobile device management. Other wizards here to help people set up Android Enterprise and Apple push notifications as well. So we really go to some lengths to kind of make this process as guided as possible. Enrolling devices is pretty straightforward. There's a few different ways we can do this. One of which is by adding a device here and searching for an existing user. We can choose we can choose from our list of users here and select the platform that we're going to be enrolling. This will already be populated, but we can choose the group and whether it's a personal device or a company-owned device or organization-owned device. And what we can do here in the enrollment page as well, we can decide how we're going to be managing the device. We can also push out a set of policies and configurations and even apps to the device, so that those are ready for the user right away. And we have this concept of what we call task bundles, which is essentially just a group of actions that the administrator can configure. So it could be enroll the device as a fully managed device and push out the Outlook app and also make a couple of other apps available to the user as well. And this can all be done through here. And what we'll get on the next page is an enrollment QR code, and this can be sent to the end user so they can scan this on their device and get up and running as quickly as possible. Probably just worth noting that this is just one enrollment option. We support various others, so we also support Apple DEP or our self-service portal, which actually we'll have a look at in a moment or two. Another option is to enroll devices via Android QR code, where essentially a single QR code can be used multiple times for different devices in the company. And that's particularly handy if you just want to print the QR code out and stick it on the IT help desk or make it available at the help desk rather than having to deal with lots of different tokens. I mentioned them briefly before, but we provide various policies to configure and manage devices, and we break these down into the different platforms that are supported. So you can configure things like whether a camera can be used on a device, or whether what the device OS update policy is. And you can also push out Wi-Fi email settings and VPN and much more. There's lots more there, so I won't really go through those in huge detail, but very happy to provide more detail afterwards for anyone who'd like more detail on that. And there's lots more detail in our admin guide on the specific settings that are available. Apps as well. I mentioned we can push out apps. Maybe I'll take Android as an example. So what I've got here is a list of my approved apps, and we can easily add some more. We can open up the Google Play Store and select some or search for some. Maybe, I'm not sure if you'd want this at work, but maybe you could have BBC News if you wanted to. And we can quickly approve that and make it available to our end users. There's a concept of managed settings as well, which allow the admin to configure or pre-configure settings for an app, and again just make things a little bit easier for the end user. If I take maybe Outlook as an example, we have these managed configuration settings here, which are provided by the app developer, so Microsoft in this case, and the admin can choose, tick and untick these and populate these with relevant information. The idea being that this just makes the process a little bit easier for the end users so that they can get up and running a bit quicker. Speaking of end users, I mentioned that Sophos Mobile is kind of part of our Sophos Central platform or system. One of the good things about this is that as administrators have visibility over all devices associated with a user. So the admin can view their mobile devices, but also any desktop devices that are associated with a particular user. Maybe I'll go back and just quickly show you what I mean by that. So if I pick a particular user from our list of people here, maybe I pick myself. This one's probably a good one to pick. So this user here has 2 Windows 10 devices. They're in a bit of a poor state, and also an Android device. And what we can see is a summary of events across those devices here. These will relate to a single device, but if we look at the full events list, we can see events taking place on my Android device or my Windows 10 devices as well. So there's a single place for the admin to kind of look and see what might be taking place. And this visibility can be quite useful when investigating a threat or looking into a particular issue to see the circumstances around an event. What we can do as well from here is we can pivot to look at the particular devices. So if we look at the mobile device here, we can see more information about the health status of it and the last time it synced. And we can also push out various or perform various actions such as blocking the device or sending the end user a message. There's a few other actions as well. I mentioned the self-service portal, and it might be good to kind of just briefly show that. So this we've been looking at so far as the admin console for the administrator to get up and running and enroll devices and manage devices. We also have a self-service portal which is designed for end users and designed to basically ease the enrollment process and reduce some of the workload on the IT help desk. If I log in, I'll just show you what I mean by that. So in the self-service portal, we can see a list of any devices that I own. So this particular user's got a few different devices. What we can also do is enroll a new device here. So if I had a brand new iOS device, I could pick this here and choose how I want it to be managed. So I want it to be fully device managed. I should say actually as well that the administrators can configure each of those options. So if the company or the trust is only going to be providing iOS devices to their users, they can remove all the other options, so they can't enroll an Android device or MacBook, for example. And the same here with this terms of use page. So what we've got here is we can provide some information to the end user to ask them to read this and accept before proceeding with the enrollment. And as with the other pages, it's just worth noting that is customizable. So the administrator can choose what wording they want to be displayed there to make sure it fits with their company policies. And then we have some instructions for the end user on how to enroll their new device. Some if they're looking at it on the PC, but if they've gone into the self-service portal on their mobile device, they can also click on this link and have the link directly to our mobile app. So all in all, the kind of the self-service portal is really designed to make it easier for end users to get up and running with their new devices, but also reduce some of the workload on the IT help desk. They don't always have to be there to walk people through the process of getting their devices up and running. Okay, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour of some of the Sophos Mobile functionality and some of the Sophos Central functionality. What I'd like to do now is just to switch back to my slides, just to summarize a few more points, and then we'll have some time for some questions. So I mentioned previously about licensing, and we've got a couple of different licensing options. So Sophos Mobile offers both device management and mobile threat defense functionality or mobile security functionality. All of this is available through our Sophos Mobile Advanced license, and this is a license that most of our customers choose. They kind of appreciate the full functionality. But alternatively, it is possible to purchase either component on its own. So the Sophos Mobile standard license, so on the left here, includes the device and app management functionality, configuring devices, pushing out apps, and monitoring compliance status. Alternatively, on the right, we have our Intercept X for mobile license. So if a customer is looking just for a mobile security product, then this is a great option, and this provides the threat protection functionality like malware detections and network protection as well. And this option on the right is particularly useful for customers who may already be using an MDM product, Microsoft Intune or Workspace ONE, or AirWatch that used to be known, but they still want to add a mobile security protection product. Okay, so just a quick moment to summarize what I've been talking about today. So Sophos Mobile is our secure device management offering. It lets organizations manage and secure Android and iOS, but also Windows, macOS, and Chromebook devices through Sophos Central. And this is right alongside our other range of products. So if you're looking to secure your endpoints as well, or you're maybe looking for a firewall solution, we can do this all in one place. Sophos Mobile provides extensive configuration options, so you can ensure devices comply with your security policies and also remotely deploy apps and configure various settings on the devices. Our security offering is also an important thing to mention. We deliver protection against a range of mobile-specific threats. So we've got a few different layers to protect the device, the anti-malware protection that I mentioned, the ability to detect malicious access points, and also protection against phishing attacks. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate everyone for joining. Got some time for some questions. If anyone would like to pop them in the chat window, we can take a look at those. Maybe just while you're doing that, I'll just pop up the next slide. I don't know if Chris or Amy, you want to comment on this, but just to flag up some upcoming webinars we've IT Health and Sophos are running, and we'd love to have you join us for those as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 14th of July, we've got synchronized security, automation and protection. 15th of September, Sophos Central device encryption, easy way to replace MBAN, which obviously is being discontinued. And then 13th of October, so a little later in the year, protecting unsupported operating systems and adopting a multi-layered cybersecurity system. Chris over at IT Health and his team will obviously share details about how to register, just like we did with this one, as and when those webinars dates are approaching.
Great, thanks, Amy.
More than welcome. We'll just wait for some questions to come in.
Yes, I can't spot any. I don't know if I'm looking in the wrong place. Do you see any, Chris? I mean, if not, maybe we'll just, while people are, just in case anyone's typing away, I'll just comment as well that here's the contact details for IT Health as well. Please do get in touch with the team, and they'll be delighted to help. We've got free trials available on our website. If you have a play around with the product and really get some hands-on time with it as well, which is always a useful thing to do. Amy and Chris and the rest of the team will be very happy to help if anything else crops up, or if you'd like to discuss things in more detail.
Absolutely. Just seeing if we've got any more questions. I can't see anything that's come through there yet. Chris, can you see anything?
Maybe what we do, we'll just take a look, just in case we've missed something. We can always follow up after the session. And of course, if anyone thinks of anything afterwards, just ping us a note, and we'll be very happy to help.
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, hang on. Do I see a question popping up?
For BYOD, can the view terms be customized?
Oh yes, good question. Yes, absolutely. That's a very good question. So you can, in the self-service portal, you can customize that text so that specific text is shown for specific device enrollments. So yes, to answer your question.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Oh, it looks like Chris has dropped off. Maybe that's why. Okay, well,
yes, audio's failed.
working from home. But yeah, excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, everybody. I really appreciate everyone who's joined and for taking the time today. Like I said, do reach out if anything else crops up. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And yeah, thanks again.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks. Goodbye.